Good evening, everybody. It's 8 o'clock and it's Let's Talk. And it's really nice to be here with you tonight. And this is I've just noticed that the screen is playing havoc on my glasses. I'll take my glasses off, shall I, to make that a little bit better. Okay. So, yes, Let's Talk Live. So yeah, it's 8 o'clock. Hi Debbie, lovely to see you here. And it is the third session in the series of the 7 C's for keeping your normal. And so we talked about courage the week before. So tonight it's about clarification, which will actually go into communication as well. So when we are, hi Karen, lovely to see you here. When we are trying to keep our normal, so when we're very anxious, when we're very stressed out, okay, I'm just inviting you. There you go, Karen, invite. Hopefully you're with us now properly. When we are going through life, okay, we develop a system for ourselves to keep our normal, and then something happens, something traumatic happens, either or you decide to make a change somehow in your life, and we have to go through a process. Okay, hi Karen, lovely to see you there. Corner, hello. And when we go through this change curve, hi Nicole, hi, lovely to see you all here. When we go through a big change, we have to go through a process, through a system called the change curve, okay? And when we're going through that change curve, it can create an awful lot of feelings, emotions, challenging thought processes that are difficult to manage. But if we understand them a little bit better, then we're going to be in a far better position to be able to process them and find out, hi Wayne, lovely to see you here, and to find out a better way to manage those feelings. Okay, so the reason why we're talking about clarification tonight is because if you want to manage your feelings better, hi, nice to see you, then you need to find the right information so that you can adjust, so you can understand the thoughts and the feelings better, so that you are in a better position to manage them the best way that you can. So if you look up clarification in the dictionary, it's going to say things like to make it clear, easier to understand. It's about being selective, and it's about choosing with care. Okay, so when you think of those descriptions, this really links into communication, because if you're trying to clarify, you've got to, first of all, you've got to communicate with yourself to find that information out. And it's the process. Hi Anne, lovely to see you here. So the process is what I teach a lot about, and that is about self-honesty, which is really, really difficult. And those of you, hi Nick, lovely to see you here. And those of you who've been on my classes or have heard me teach will know that I bang on about self-honesty, which is really, really difficult to do, and then putting your hands on your heart so that you can really feel and start to understand those emotions. So it's about linking these two up together so that you can find the right way for yourself. Okay, because when we're going through a change, okay, if it's a change that is forced upon you, all right, the first phase of the change curve is the shock. Okay, and then you're going to dip down and it's going to be disbelief, anger, and if we're not careful about how far we allow ourselves to slide down, it can lead into depression. So what we're trying to do is to alleviate that slope that goes too far down, so that you can start coming back at the other side and start taking action to get back to a more normal way of feeling and thinking and then behaving. Okay, so the trouble is when we start to go into the slide down into the anger section, okay, this is where there can be huge communication problems, not only with yourself, but then with other people around you. Okay, so it can be perhaps closing off so that you're not communicating with anybody, or else you're communicating too much and in the wrong way. Okay, and if you're going through the anger phase, then it might be that you start saying a lot of things that you don't mean to say, or start behaving in ways that you don't mean to be behaving like. Sorry, that didn't sound that wasn't grammatically correct, but I think you understand what I mean. Okay, because and when we're communicating, it isn't just about what we're saying. So it isn't our actual words, but it's our tone of voice and it's our body language. And if you've ever looked up, 360-degree communication, or perhaps you've done it in training at work, that kind of thing, you might have seen the communication pie chart. Okay, so in actual fact, hi Cheryl, lovely to see you here. So in actual fact, when we are communicating with other people, all right, we think we might be saying something in the right way, and yes, we might be saying the right word, but we might be using the wrong tone of voice and the wrong body language. And so the other person listening to us won't believe what we're saying, because there's a mix match of information coming across from you to them. And so it's really, really important to, hi Amy, lovely to see you here. So it's really, really important to try and link up the right words with the right tone of voice and then the right body language, so that you get a very sincere and meaningful communication process going. And that might mean, so Anne's just commented here, like hearing yourself on the answer phone never sounds like yourself. And that is a really good, and that's another really good point that I'll come to in a minute. So it's really important to take some time out so that you can step back. Okay, you can put your hands on your heart, start being totally honest with yourself and finding out exactly what you're feeling, why you're feeling it, and how you want to be thinking and feeling instead, so that you can then really start to work out how you want to be responding instead, so that you can give over the correct messages. All right, so taking that time out, giving yourself a breather, perhaps, if you can getting outside so that you can do some nice deep breaths, hopefully, somewhere where you can hear the birds, smell the grass, hear the trees. But if you can't, then that's okay. You can only do the best that you can do. All right, and really start to work out how you want to progress from the state that you are in at the moment. Okay, so I just want to go back to what Anne commented here, like hearing yourself on the answer phone never sounds like yourself, because in actual fact, how we hear ourselves isn't the same as how somebody else hears you. All right, because when we hear ourselves, there's a blockage of information because of the processing, and we can't see ourselves either, and we can't see what our facial expressions are, because quite often when we are angry, when we're in shock, when we're stressed, when we're very, very upset, you'd perhaps not connecting you're not connecting with yourself very, very, very well. And so there's a space, there's a gap that the other person who you're talking to is hearing. So it's rather like, texting, writing letters. We might say one thing, but actually we mean something else because we haven't got the facial expressions to back up what's in the tone of voice that backs up what's being said on the piece of paper or in the text. I hope that makes it a little bit clearer. So when we've sorted out and understand what's going on in here and what's going on in here, then you can start to make changes to either speaking to yourself in a more positive, supportive way so that you can help yourself to feel a bit better about what you're thinking and you're feeling, how you want to be behaving, how you can start taking yourself up the change curve, okay, so that you're pulling yourself out of that shock and that anger, and you can start moving back to a place that you want to be and finding your normal again, somewhere where you are happier to be. And that then will then automatically and more easily, I'm not saying automatically, but more easily translate better to other people. Okay, so it's about thinking about where you are at the moment, where you are today, what it is that you're thinking and you're feeling. And yes, it can be really hard to admit that you're angry with somebody or you're frustrated with somebody, or perhaps that you are unhappy with how you've handled something, but you're perhaps a bit embarrassed about how you did it. All right, because it's difficult for so many people to go to somebody and say, I'm really sorry about how I spoke to you earlier, because none of us really like to admit that we've behaved badly, because it hurts us. But if you imagine how, if you think about how that hurts somebody else, when you were perhaps saying something that you didn't really want to say. Has anybody got anything that you want to add to this? Because it'd be really nice to hear, something from yourselves. Okay. So, and these are only really just an introduction to, keeping your normal. But so often when we're in a time of anguish, when we're in a time of huge uncertainty, our heads can be, and it's over a long period of time, our heads can be going, I just want to feel normal again. And it's finding out what your normal, it's understanding what your normal is to start with, so that then you can reprocess and work yourself back to that normal again. It might only be, sometimes we have to have a temporary normal, all right, until we can work up to the real normal of us being authentic with ourselves. Because if we're authentic with ourselves, then we are going to be authentic with other people. So nobody's left any messages, which is a little bit a shame, but it's lovely to see so many people on here. Next week, Let's Talk is going to be, oh hi Nick, that sounds familiar. Yes, I know. But hey, sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes days when we're in this, and I'm glad you brought this up actually, and it prompted me a little bit, Nick, actually, because sometimes when we're in that state of anger and anguish, the day can just flow. It can just flow by, and you can't really remember what you've said to who, um, and how you've said it, and whether you've remembered to tell the right people in the right order, because our brains just become so confused and in a muddle, and it's about trying to iron that muddle out so that we can see it better. That's why, when we're doing a jigsaw, you get all the pieces out, don't you? And then you start with the edge of the jigsaw and then start putting the other bits and pieces in. So the main landmarks, that sort of thing. Hi, Jenny, lovely to see you. And so, yeah, this trying to put together to connect what's going on in the head and what's going on in the heart is about ironing it out so that you can work the jigsaw out and start putting things back in the right place. Lovely, Anne. I agree. Things do come back to haunt you in the middle of the night, and that's absolutely true, because suddenly, you can be asleep, or you just can't get off to sleep because you're so uptight about what it is that's been going on in your head, or you suddenly realised how you've behaved. And then you're in a situation in the middle of the night that you can't really do an awful lot about it except work out how you're going to talk to that person when you can the next day, unless you're able to speak to them in the middle of the night, for example. Okay, so next week's introduction to keeping your normal is going to be the fourth C, and I'm just going to look at my piece of paper so I get it correct, is control. All right? And it's surprising how, when you're in that anguish, when you're trying to struggle to keep that normal, how out of control you can feel. And what we're going to be talking about is actually how much control you do have and how you can start putting it into action. So it is coming up to 8:20, and it's been lovely to have so many people live with me tonight. And if you've got anything you want to add, then just pop it in the comments box at the end and I'll pick that up. But I'm going to love you and leave you now. So have a lovely evening. Have a great week. Enjoy the sunshine when it comes out. And keep working on your 7 C's to keeping your normal. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.